Welcome to New York's number 2 sports show. The Giants signed safety Jevon Holland to a 3-year deal worth $45.3 million, $30.3 million guaranteed. And it's definitely a boost to the defense. It's a little bit curious in the fact that last season, Joe Schoen decided to let Xavier McKinney walk. Now, that contract was a little bit more, but not that much more. It was a 4-year deal. I believe the per season value on it was $17 million. So slightly more expensive than this one. And it's not, I mean, look, I wasn't the biggest Xavier McKinney fan as it was, but I was not a fan of him leaving. Like Saquon Barkley, I was much more okay with at the time than Xavier McKinney walking. And McKinney had a very good year in year one with the Green Bay Packers. That all said, maybe Joe Schoen is, taking a different approach. Who knows exactly the rationale, but it does make this defense and specifically the secondary a lot better. I mean, this secondary was easily one of the worst in the league last year. And now you add a couple of young players as well. Paulson Adebo from the New Orleans Saints is going to be the number one cornerback. And now Jevon Holland will pair up with Tyler Nubin at safety. So this presumably means the end of Jason Pinnock, you'd have to believe, as a New York Giant. So now just looking at the defense as a whole, with the recent moves that they've made, on paper, it looks a little bit better. Up front, of course, you have Dexter Lawrence with Raheem Nunez-Roches and Chauncey Golston. And as well, you have Roy Robertson-Harris, who will, factor in as well. So I think Golston will have more of an overall role, but it'll be kind of a combination. And look, again, it can't get much worse than what was on that D-line, sans Dexter Lawrence. And then as far as on the edge, you have Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau. And you're needing both of them to take a major step up, especially Thibodeau. I think it's incumbent on him to really produce. I'm looking for a lot more out of the Giants draft picks of recent years, but can Shane Bowen get the best out of them? Like, for me, that's a major question mark, is his worth as a defensive coordinator. Because, look, last year you had much worse seasons out of Bobby Okereke, Deontay Banks, just to name a few. Much worse than they were the previous season. So inside linebackers, you have Okereke and Micah McFadden. Corners, Adebo, Banks, and then in the slot, Drew Phillips, and then safeties, Jevon Holland and Tyler Nubin. So this, again, on paper, it's not completely horrendous, but, it still lacks depth. I think, if they can stay healthy, they may be a decent unit. And again, I think it's very key that they get pressure on the quarterback, which the Giants need more from Burns and Thibodeau. And then you're hoping that, Golston replacing Ojulari can make a difference. But really the big thing when I look at this is Adebo and Holland. So Jevon Holland spent his first 4 seasons of his career with the Miami Dolphins. He was a second-round pick, a high second-round pick as well in 2021 out of Oregon. So he actually was teammates for a couple of seasons with Kayvon Thibodeau back at college. And Holland, it's interesting. He's a free safety, but he's not much of a guy who gets that many interceptions. Had 2 his rookie year, 2 in 2022, and then 1 in 2023, which was actually a pretty well-known touchdown. It was the reverse Hail Mary thrown by Tim Boyle on Black Friday at MetLife Stadium for the New York Jets. Holland took it back for a touchdown at the end of the first half. One of the crazier plays I've ever seen. However, for him, that day kind of doesn't end the way he would have wanted it to. He ends up suffering MCL sprains in both of his knees, which took him out for, I believe, the next 4 games. Other than that, though, he seems to be someone that's been relatively healthy in his 4-year career. And look, it wasn't something I was necessarily expecting. There was talk the Giants were going to spend on safety, and sure enough, they do it. And it's an improvement over Jason Pinnock for sure. And Holland, I think the key for Shane Bowen is how is he going to utilize these players? There's skill and talent on this defense and some unique players as well that don't necessarily fit the traditional roles like Jevon Holland. He is more someone that you'll see, play in the box, even though he's a free safety, even though Tyler Nubin, that's more of his specialty, right? And we know that, Tyler Nubin is not really one at least we didn't see in his rookie year, is one for interceptions. Not to say that he can't develop that over time. I mean, I think that was a little bit of a part of his game at Minnesota. I just think overall, and we already know that Adebo, obviously, specifically, he is someone that is a ball hawk. Jevon Holland, not as much, but they spend, again, a lot of money on him. $30.3 million guaranteed out of the $45.3 million contract for a 3-year deal. So I think a lot of the work on defense is just about finished here. Not to say there won't be any other moves. Again, I think the depth needs a bit of work, but the Giants are definitely spending a lot of money. Like, there's no doubt about that, but yet still no quarterback for the New York Giants as we speak right now. It just came down actually recently, which is in a bit of good news, that the Giants were awarded the number 99 pick, which falls at the end of round 3, a compensatory pick based upon what happened last year in free agency. Basically calculations as far as the players that left the Giants compared to the players that came in. So therefore, that's where, the free agent losses that the Giants did have last year, as has been discussed at length, do come with a little bit of a reward in getting this 3rd-round pick. I think the expectation was that the Giants were going to get a compensatory pick, but in the 4th round. So this kind of went better than what was projected. And we'll see. This pick could be used in a potential trade-up scenario. Like, that's the thing. So it's just good to have more draft ammo. And now they have it. Again, do I trust Joe Schoen to necessarily make the right selections? No. But maybe they can use this in a different way. Because, look, the 3rd-round pick is not nothing. Decent GMs are able to turn those into legitimate players. So we'll see what happens here. But a bit of good news there. And again, it's really just for the Giants waiting on the news as far as quarterback is concerned. And the Giants may end up with none of the bigger names. And I don't have a major problem with that. That is the case. Out of the remaining quarterbacks that are available. And again, I don't want to discuss it here. I'm still waiting to see what happens. Aaron Rodgers is in play. Russell Wilson could potentially as well. Beyond that, it's kind of tough to say. Those are kind of the 2 biggest names out there, and neither may end up with the Giants. That's very possible. I think the biggest thing is, what are they going to do in the draft, and how are they going to be able to acquire one of the top quarterbacks that are available? It's not going to be easy. That's the thing. I think that a trade up is almost required in order to make that work. I mean, could one fall to number 3? It is possible, but I don't know if that's a chance that's worth taking, especially if the Giants are not able to get one of the veteran quarterbacks. But my preference would be to focus very much so on Cam Ward specifically, and to a lesser degree, Shedeur Sanders. But there's no guarantee the Giants will end up with either of them. Therefore, they have to act swiftly with what is out there now. But that'll be a discussion hopefully sooner than later, and I would expect that it would be. Decisions should be coming down somewhat shortly, whether that be today, tomorrow, we shall see. But in the meantime, Giants continue to make moves, and the most recent one is the Giants signing Jevon Holland, the safety from the Miami Dolphins, to a 3-year contract.